I'm here on behalf of Mona Buyyala. These are her concerns. My dear fellow citizens of Torrance, I am writing as a mother, wife, aunt, sister, and a friend to address the concerns of opening a gun store in downtown Torrance within walking distance of schools. COVID-19 detrimentally impacted our children's lives in a significant way. Our children are no longer the same. Some have been harmed from a mental health standpoint, and now many may pose risks to themselves and others. Mental health support services are limited, and in some communities, non-existent. One would have to be a hermit to be unaware of the clear and present specter of the increasing frequency of mass shootings, particularly in schools. The number of mass shootings in the United States has increased steadily over the last 3 years. There were 638 of these horrible events in 2021, resulting in 705 deaths. And 2022 is on track to be even worse, with 508 mass shootings occurring in the first 8 months of this year. California experienced an average of 44 mass shootings per year between 2013 and 2021. That translates to 1 mass shooting every 8.3 days. As reported by the Kaiser Family Foundation in July of this year, the #1 cause of death in 2020 for US children was firearms. Of the over 4,300 children that died from firearms in 2020, 65% of these deaths were due to violent assault. The increased presence of guns in our communities could have dire consequences. Shouldn't safety for our citizens, especially children, be our top priority? I think we'd all like to believe that Torrance would never become a news item due to gun violence, but you can hear the footsteps if you are listening. It can happen here. In June of 2019, Del Amo Mall had a lockdown due to gun violence. That lockdown deterred people from going back to the mall and feeling safe. Early in January of this year, there was a shooting at Gable House Bowl that left 3 men dead and 4 wounded. More recently, in July of this year, there was a mass shooting at Peck Park in San Pedro, 6.5 miles away and 18 minutes from downtown Torrance, leaving 2 dead and 7 wounded.
I am a 44-year resident of the city and a former council member. The presence of a gun shop is out of character with what the revitalization plan has attempted to do. As you have heard, there are schools within easy reach of the downtown area. There is, according to the list provided to me by the City of Torrance Finance Department, 12 licensed firearm dealers. 12 licensed firearm dealers within our 21-mile radius. If you want to buy a gun, you will have no problem finding one within that 21-mile radius from any one of those 12 gun dealers.
I come from a home and a whole family of gun owners. Our family is very supportive of the Second Amendment and protecting the rights of good citizens to bear arms. This SDP appeal is not about the Second Amendment. It's about whether Red Rifle Ltd is compatible with the historic downtown Torrance area. Given the amount of foot traffic and youth present in the area, the Red Rifle retail store is not a compatible fit. Mr. Brandhorst wants to create a boutique-like atmosphere for guns and ammo retail, as if someone can come into downtown, grab a cup of coffee, shop for shoes, pick up dry cleaning, and pop in to buy a Glock and some ammo. It's clear what part of that picture is not compatible with the rest. To drive the picture further home, the Memorial Thomas Keller is located across the street. A police officer shot in the line of duty because there is an active shooter that stole a gun and ammo from a local downtown Torrance store. Torrance does not lack guns and ammo. They are incredibly easy to find, and if Red Rifle is your favorite store, driving an extra 5 miles to get there is not a hardship. Mr. Brandhorst wants to make it sound like this opposition is threatening his Second Amendment rights. It's not. Bear arms, that's your right. The Second Amendment also has nothing to do with the selling of arms. This opposition to the gun store is only about its compatibility and its impact on the historic downtown Torrance area. This is where we ask the Planning Commission to consider what is the responsible placement for the guns and ammunition retail store. Is it compatible with the pedestrian-oriented downtown, close to youth recreational facilities and schools? Or would it be better suited in a lower traffic area, which is still easily accessible to clients? I am sure most of Mr. Brandhorst's clients are upstanding citizens and are using their rights to bear arms to protect themselves, their loved ones, and their homes. The problem is, despite how many precautions can be taken, there is no way to know the true intentions of someone purchasing a firearm until it's too late. Salvador Ramos, the Uvalde shooter, legally purchased his gun. Peyton Gendron, the Buffalo shooter that killed 10, legally purchased his gun. AP News lists 20 other mass shootings where firearms were illegally purchased. These facts don't mean good citizens should lose their rights to own guns. It does mean that city planners need to make informed decisions based on current events and facts to keep the citizens of Torrance safe. Planning Commission, we need you to make a decision to help protect the safety and the profitability of the current residents and businesses in downtown Torrance. Given the current climate of our nation regarding gun violence, now is not the time to approve the opening of a new gun store that so many people oppose. Based on the above, it is our belief that the planning director abused her discretion, and we ask that her decision be overturned or that the Planning Commission continues this item to another meeting, and that the appellants have the opportunity to present additional evidence and material. The staff report and its findings are incomplete, and the staff needs more time to properly investigate.
My name is Jack Brandhorst. I own Red Rifle. I was sitting there and I look up and see that in God we trust. And all these comments sort of had a theme, and it is we don't trust each other. Yeah, I didn't laugh at you once when you were speaking. I was very polite when you were speaking.
Actually, we did.
We need to. No one has come to speak to me. No one's come to Red Rifle to see how we operate. A lot of folks in here that are upset don't even understand or know the process for selling guns in the state of California. I took a lot of notes here. I was hoping to be able to go through them and address some of the points that the appellants made. As I hear the laughter and stuff, I gotta be honest, I'm a little shaken now. I feel rather disrespected, and we've been in business for 10 years. The way we conduct business is unlike any other gun store. Let me first be clear. We're trying to move the shop from Carson to a more friendly neighborhood. A neighborhood that's more conducive to our style, the way we sell guns, and the way we conduct business in general. At Red Rifle, unlike most gun stores, everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. You already cannot bring kids in if they're unaccompanied. This is already the case in the state of California. Red Rifle already on its own, through no instruction from the state, local, or federal government, hides its ammunition in the back and only gives it to the customers by hand. They don't have access to the bullets. In 10 years of business, no one has ever left Red Rifle and shot anybody. No one has ever left Red Rifle, loaded up their gun, and done anything untoward. In addition, there's things called trace requests, right? So if you sell a gun to somebody and they do something bad with it, they lose it, gets stolen, whatever happens, the FBI contacts the gun store and does a trace request, asks for a trace. You know what Red Rifle averages for trace requests a year? Less than 8. For a gun store like ours that does the volume of sales we do, to have less than 8 guns come up from the community as lost, stolen, involved in a crime, any number of things. You know, just taken from a home, red flag laws, you get trace requests for that. For the volume of our store to only get 8 per year is applaudable, is commendable. Things do not get stolen from Red Rifle. We are incredibly discerning with who comes into the store. The door is always locked at Red Rifle. We never ever planned on displaying guns in the front window. We never ever planned on putting anything in the front except the business name. But no one asked. We only planned to make a beautiful, elegant, accessible space for community members and family members. Just because it's guns doesn't mean it's not family friendly. Just because it's guns and they are scary and sometimes used for violence and disgusting acts, which we all deplore. For me and for most of my customers, guns are about saving lives. Nobody that comes into Red Rifle wants to use the gun. Don't nobody want to shoot anybody. I don't want to be in no fight. All I want to do is give you the opportunity to save yourself, give you the opportunity to protect yourself. It is up to you to be a responsible community member and lock that gun up at home so that your children can't access the gun. Now at Red Rifle, we go above and beyond. We give you a 30-minute lesson on how to safely operate that gun when you come in. That's expense, that's time my employees gotta take that I don't get back. If you have a kid and you come into Red Rifle to buy a gun, guess what? We force you to purchase a safe. We force you to purchase a safe because we don't want kids getting a hold of a gun. Weren't you a kid? Didn't you go look for the things your parents hid when you were a kid? You don't hide things from kids. Education is the key. If you don't want these kids picking up guns, show them what they do. Show them how to responsibly operate a firearm. And then heavily restrict their access. The existence of Red Rifle in Sartori is only going to serve to elevate the community and provide another elegant boutique shop that people can shop at. Absolutely. Go get your crawlers. Go get your biscuits and gravy from Clutch and Coffee. Get that chicken and waffles from local kitchen. Go get it, and then come by Red Rifle and pick you up a Glock and some bullets. And we're going to teach you how to use it. We're going to make sure you understand the laws and your responsibilities as a community member. Red Rifle is currently 50 feet from an after-school basketball gym. We have been in business for 10 years. Not a single kid has come from that gym to try and buy a gun at Red Rifle. Couldn't get in even if he did. We are less than 1 mile from 2 schools at Red Rifle's current location. Let me be clear. Red Rifle now and has always and will continue to follow all federal, state, and local laws with respect to distance to sensitive locations and every other law that we have to follow. California has passed over 12 new gun control laws just this year. And we follow every one of them. We got to, so do you. I don't know what about the store seems unfriendly, just because it's guns. Don't be scared. You're welcome. You're welcome to come in. We'll happily answer questions, happily educate you. No one's not going to come to Old Town Torrance because Red Rifle's there. You know why they're not going to come to Old Town Torrance? Because of the empty shops, because of the yoga studios and the holistic healers that move in for a year and then close, or the salon that moved in for how many years and never opened, only to do something untoward in the back that we don't need to talk about right now. It has been a dream of mine to move into Old Town. For at least 7 years I've been trying to get there. I love Old Town Torrance. And all I want to do is make it more beautiful, more successful, bring more people down there. Our customers are insanely diverse. You know who's going to be coming to Old Town Torrance? Black people, brown people, trans people, gay people. You know where we are right now? We're right in the heart of the black community. And you know who ain't complaining? The black folks ain't complaining. But as soon as we want to come over here, you got something to say about it. But it's all right that we stay in our black neighborhood, right? That's what you said. We're 5 miles the other way. It's fine if we stay in there, but God forbid we come over here. Let's get businesses into Old Town Torrance that are established businesses, that have the finances to weather a storm of opening a new store. And we'll be there, a heritage store, a store that could be there forever, like the bakery. You guys got a pawn shop right there. That pawn shop has always sold guns. There is no legal or ethical reason why Red Rifle can't move in next door and continue to sell guns, ammunition, and the like. Whether you hate me or not, it is beautiful that you get to come up here politely, with respect, address me, the commission, and the rest of your neighbors. Now, just because all these nasty things you see on the TV and in the news, it doesn't mean you should lose faith in your neighbors and your neighborhood. It doesn't mean that you should ban stuff. It doesn't mean that you should hate or fight guns. It's illogical. They're already here. The moment you leave here, you are surrounded by them. You just don't realize. At least we are doing it in a highly ethical way. So that's why I take this quite personally. I really hope that you folks on the commission consider letting us in. We will be there forever. We will be Old Town Torrance's biggest champion and participant. Some of the items on the resolution, or whatever it is, we might have to address because there are some legal issues with respect to the restrictions that have been put forward. Even if I'm standing here quiet, y'all, I want to hold my whole 4 minutes I got left. I love the street fair. Come to every one of them. It's always been a dream of mine that would be able to participate. I have no interest in putting ammo or guns on display that people can access. The only thing that I would ever do during a street fair, be in front of the shop, some shirts for sale, or safes, pamphlets with information on how to keep your guns locked up, how to keep them out of the reach of your children. It would be an educational experience.
Staff had checked with the applicant to find out what his hours of operations were. He stated these were the hours of the operations, therefore we did put them as a condition within.
Why is there a limit on 2 employees? Is that normal to have a limit on employees on site?
It's based on what the applicant put in his application.
Okay, so if they wanted more employees, they'd have to come back to get approval. Okay.
They would have to come back and amend the conditions of approval,
Does
right?
the owner count as an employee?
No.
I do believe that we can add and subtract employees without much fanfare, just like any other business. I don't think there's any issue with that.
I think you made a comment that someone could eat in local Torrance and then pick up a glass, but from my understanding of California law, that is not possible until you pass a 10-day waiting period after a background investigation.
Of course, I'm glad you clarified that, as, being here is a bit emotional. To be very clear, you cannot walk into any gun store in the state of California, buy a gun, and leave. We can't even sell guns after a certain hour. When you walk into a gun store, you take a 30-question multiple choice safety test, you pay for that test, you pay for a background check, then you must wait 10 days for California to conduct a background check, then you come back to that store to pick that gun up. That's multiple visits, sometimes 3 visits, because California will do things with the background check to delay it. So one of the comments about, oh, you got 5 miles to go and it's easy. Well, if you got the kids after school and you got this and that happening, 5 miles turns into, 100 miles real quick.
Would they not be able to use their name in any signage that refers to firearms or in any outdoor advertising?
There is the California Penal Code, section 26820, that actually specifically states that no handguns or imitation handguns or place guard advertising the sale or other transfer thereof shall be displayed in any part of the premise where it can readily be seen from the outside. Because they have a storefront, we do not know what the security of that storefront will be or how easily it will be able to access that storefront. And that is why the ammunition was also added to that. It does not mean he can't use his name in there, but he just can't actually display the firearms or the ammunition.
It's my understanding we can't display the image of a gun in the front glass. So with respect to that penal code, I believe it was challenged in court and found unconstitutional. Tracy v. Harris, I believe, is the case.
Is there a safety distance for any gun shops that's, surrounded by schools?
No, the city of Torrance does not have any distance requirements for sale of firearms to schools.
California Penal Code 626.9 establishes a 1,000 feet away from any school.
You mentioned your gun shop has 8 per year for FBI trace requests, but you did not mention what other gun shop has. Do you have those data for us?
I do not know. It's impossible to have access to another gun store's information.
So without that comparison, I don't know if that's high or low, right?
Sure.
We're having this hearing because it's an appeal of an approval of an SDP permit. The SDP permit is only relevant to the downtown Torrance area. If the applicant had selected a different retail location, they would just be able to go in. There wouldn't be a separate planning or zoning review. They would only need to go through the police background check, business license review, and those processes.
Yeah, forgive me, I don't know if you know this about me. I'm legally blind. I have incredibly poor vision, so I can't identify who's, that's why you see me looking and stuff. I can't identify to whom is, so I'm not being rude, I just can't see who's speaking. But I can hear you. Number 7, I just wholly don't agree with being in place. Some people don't want to hear it, but
I just want to know if you agree with it.
I do not agree. I believe it's the First Amendment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, and 10
10 hours. I do not agree.
and 14?
I do not agree. I received an email from planning that had 4 conditions in them. I didn't see that email until Tuesday. The issue is not with the hours that are set. The issue is with requiring a business to seek approval from a government agency in order to change the hours of that business. That's a real slippery, that's really, I'm okay with being required to notify the city.
Well, what do you think your hours should be?
It's not about the hours, it's about the requirement to request a change of hours whenever we want it.
Because it is a special development permit, there are still conditions of approval, just like you would with a CUP, have conditions of approval. And because he mentioned those hours to us, because we know that this is concern to the community, we added that condition. It is not uncommon if we know that there's a certain business that's doing a certain function to add, and they say they have certain hours for us to add those hours in there. That's within our right to do so, and we selected to do that.
I have never experienced this kind of thing. When I first opened Red Rifle, we could only afford to move where we were. I had to sell my sailboat that I lived on at the time in order to open the shop. It was all the money I had nothing else. It was like $6,000 to open Red Rifle where it is. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't afford to come to Torrance at the time. I could only afford to go to Carson, and they were very welcoming, and there were no hearings. I spent every weekend in Old Town Torrance. I've been in love with Old Town Torrance. I think it's the cutest thing out there. I love the feel when you walk the streets. I love how safe it feels. I simply want to be a member of a community. And it doesn't feel like that in Carson because we're stuck in a warehouse on the outskirts. No one walks past. There's nobody to shake their hand, talk to your neighbor. The thing that these folks are so scared of us destroying is what I want to come here to help build up. Even if you hate guns and don't want to shop at Red Rifle, that's fine. We're not going to force you. We're not going to shove it in your face. We're not going to argue with you. There's 2 empty shops right there on Sartori. Mine and that other one that I think was like a skateboard shop or something. I don't remember what it was. Two empty big glass displays on Sartori. How long are you going to be empty for? What are you going to put in there next? Something that's going to close a year later? You're going to put something in there that only a handful of people can utilize? We have poor folks. We have celebrities. During the pandemic, people came from San Francisco and Oakland because we were the only gay, queer, LGBTQ-friendly gun store. They don't want the people in the neighborhood that Red Rifle's going to bring. The people are you.
The question is, why go through all this effort to be specifically in Old Town Torrance, whereas any place else in the city of Torrance, you would not have these obstacles?
There is no place in Torrance that has the vibe that Old Town has, and that is Red Rifle. That vibe is us. We're a small, family, high-end store. We're not a big box store. We don't belong on a boulevard. We don't belong, in a shopping center. I want the opportunity to participate, elevate a community like Old Town, and we should be allowed to. There's no legal or ethical reason why we can't be there. We are only going to serve to uplift the neighborhood.
I support the opening of this gun store. It's a tax-producing, legal product in a legal business. Everybody keeps vilifying an inanimate object, that being a gun. California has the most highly regulated gun laws in the country. There is already a 10-day waiting period. People are acting like someone's gonna go in there, buy a gun, and come out shooting. It doesn't work like that. All these people are talking about 12 gun stores in the city, but there are not 12 gun stores, there's 12 dealers. There's no evidence of any violence from someone going into a gun store and coming out shooting in Torrance or anywhere else around here. Don't fall for the rhetoric and fear-mongering that's happening here tonight. In my opinion, other businesses in that area should not be able to decide what other businesses come to that area if they're a legal business. There are people that are going to patronize this gun store that are good people. Everybody that's going to be there is a good person. They're going to go to the restaurants and things before they go buy their gun, pick up their gun. Firearms are already in Old Torrance. They've been there for a long time. There is no evidence other than somebody exploiting the death of a Torrance police officer 40 years ago to make their point.
The issue for us is not how he does business, it's where he wants to do business, it's incompatible land use from our perspective. He mentioned that there were only 4 appellates. Well, in fact, 95 people sent in comments opposing the location for this gun store, and over 780 people signed a change.org petition saying they also oppose the location of this gun store. So it's not just 4 voices, it's many. I'm very concerned about the confusion about whether or not he was accepting the conditions that were part of the approval. My thought was that the approval that staff was giving was contingent on already working that out, on the applicant agreeing to those conditions. So frankly, I'm a little confused in what he's willing to do and what he's not willing to do. I'm concerned about the fact that he wants to extend hours into the evening. Recently, I reviewed the list of mass shootings in the US. Again, 555 just since January 1st. 58 of them mentioned in their description that it started with an argument in a bar or a nightclub or a place where alcohol was served, and then it escalated into a shooting. So if he's going to be open in the evening hours when there's more activity around the bars and the restaurants with bars, I think that there are more people who might stand up and say, we don't approve of this. We asked the question, how is a gun shop really compatible with like sidewalk dining? I mean, literally there's a restaurant right next door. If I were eating on that patio, somebody could be walking in and out of the gun store and with a gun. If they already have a gun and they go in and buy ammunition, they could have that on their property, on their person. I personally would not feel comfortable sitting there with my family knowing that that's happening.
I'm the owner of 1309 through 1315 Sartori, here representing 4 generations over 100 years of Torrance history. I'm representing 2 others, yes. Yeah. I'm on the same block as the proposed Red Rifle location. I concur with the others arguing that a gun and ammunition store is indeed incompatible with this location due to its immediate proximity to crowds, bars, and children-oriented businesses. I am a gun owner myself, and I do not have an issue with the business or their goals or how they run, simply just the location. I truly couldn't imagine a less appropriate location in the entire city. Gun stores are usually located in quieter, more industrial locations for a reason. I would suggest that his stellar safety record is due to the fact that he is in an appropriate location for a gun store. And I think it behooves the city and improves public safety to keep this sensitive use in appropriate places. All that we're arguing is that this is the most inappropriate location imaginable. Our city not only has a plethora of better suited land for a use like this. We're all industrial here in Torrance. Asking someone to drive a couple minutes to any one of our other local gun shops does nothing to take away anyone's actual rights, even if it's multiple times where you can drive to Carson, we can drive a couple minutes, that's okay. No one's being infringed upon by saying no to this. And finally, as a nearby property owner with a similar storefront vacancy, he mentioned the old, the other empty space on Sartori, that is mine, and a new tenant is coming in there with a 5-year lease, actually, and it is a children's dance studio. It is another use bringing in children. I have actually had to turn away multiple wonderful family-friendly businesses, so please do not think that there is any need for a scarcity mentality for better uses for this space. Please protect the balance of our downtown area by saying no to Red Rifle. Business owners, property owners, and residents will thank you.
This is an incompatible use with a friendly downtown Torrance that we have put in so much hard work to revitalize that area, to make it family friendly. The owner of the shop claims that only for appeal, but you heard tonight there were over 780 petitions signed against the shop. This is not about buying guns. This is about appropriate use in the downtown. We want it to be family friendly. I have one more concern. I thought when a person applied for a business, they had to agree to the conditions, that they are not to dictate the conditions to the city.
It's been a long road to get downtown Torrance to where it is today. Allowing a business that is clearly not compatible will ruin all the hard work and ruin everything that Mr. Brandhorst says he loves about downtown Torrance. The vast majority of the DTA is against the gun store. I know he has a great gun store. It just doesn't belong in downtown Torrance. It is not compatible with our area. Claims about being a good, responsible community member. Knowing that, pick a responsible location. A pedestrian-oriented city, or area of the city, is not a responsible location to put a gun shop. I have a real issue having a SDP myself with changing the conditions on the SDP, the hours and everything at a hearing like this. I mean, I've been there for 8 years with my SDP, and I had to make changes, especially during COVID, I had to make changes. And I was going back and forth with Kevin all the time, and he was telling me what was appropriate, what was not. And that's what you do in downtown Torrance. So if he doesn't like that, I mean, welcome to downtown Torrance, that's what you do. So I don't understand how all those stipulations that he has a problem with in his SDP can be handled here today, because I don't agree with the change in the hours, and I don't agree with some of the things that he wants to change in there that we've already had a chance to look at.
I just wonder if anybody remembers in 2015, when a bunch of Torrance residents protested the shooting range right across from Towers Elementary School. Because that's another example of how parents do not want firearms near their kids. People choose to raise their families here because they believe Torrance is safe, and we want to keep it safe. And a lot of people say, well, there hasn't been any incidents in our schools yet. Well, we want to keep it that way.
And this is supposedly a rifle gun shop, but if you go on their website, it's pistols, it's autoloaders mostly. Check out the website. It's very much firearms porn. Seriously, take a look at it.
When I was young, which was a long time ago, I was a member of the ROTC. We'd be on the school campus and we'd be shooting on school campuses in the California system.
Jack has mentioned that he's very unhappy with how all of this process is transpiring. And what I have to say about this is that it's transpiring this way because we're in such a unique location, where this potential gun store would be in downtown Torrance, a place where there's a lot of foot traffic, so many people, families. And this is not the type of retail location where a gun store should be located. A place that has better security systems would be a suitable location for this establishment. It's just not suitable for this location. It has nothing to do with your Second Amendment rights. You can get guns elsewhere.
I'd like to introduce a piece of evidence, the link to which I would be glad to share with the council or the committee. Journal of Public Economics recently compared data from the FBI and the U.S. Census Bureau and found that, quote, when a gun dealership opens, firearm homicides within the surrounding area increased by as much as 3.9% in subsequent years. This is something that really makes me second guess the amount of time and consideration that was put into studying the effects of opening such a gun store in our community. And it really makes me wish that we had taken more time to consider the impact of this. America is suffering from a gun violence epidemic, and you can't control the natural response that people feel to weapons, especially to such a public avail, when they have the ability to take lives. Gun violence has been the dominant issue for the bulk of my career as a student. In fact, on June 15th of this year, I had the pleasure of meeting with Mayor Chen alongside one of my peers to discuss the urgency of this matter particularly. There's been pushback for months around this issue, and I assure you, there will continue to be.
Nobody's coming into a high-priced boutique gun store as a criminal to buy their guns. They buy them from burglary rings that burglarize all around the country.
My first-hand knowledge of gun violence is the fact that I served 14 months in combat in Vietnam. I don't think this gun shop is going to be able to be safe because of the battery-operated power tools that we have available today, and unless it's stored as a vault, it'll be accessed by somebody when they need it. And we must keep in mind that over 2 million mentally ill people voted for Donald Trump the second time.
I think that the delays have really affected people's ability to speak. I am anti-gun. I want Pork Chop to know that I have never had a DUI. Believe me, when I was younger, I had a lot of opportunities.
I've been part of the city of Torrance for 50 years, my whole life, born and raised, went to schools here in Torrance. I do believe safety is very important, always has been here in the city of Torrance, and making sure that businesses that are safe, reliable, also part of the community, stay with the city of Torrance.
I just want to come up and talk a little bit about the characterization of gun owners and gun shops for a second here. As we've heard from the anti-gun crowd, okay, there's a serious mischaracterization of gun owners, and there are responsible gun owners. There's a crime problem, there's a criminal problem. Okay, but it's not a gun problem. 2007, okay? Jeannie Assam was a member of a church when a man came in with an AK-47. She happened to have a handgun. She was able to confront a man with an AK-47, shoot at him, her shots landed, his did not, and prevented a mass shooting.
I am part of an organization called California Rifle and Pistol Association that is dedicated to the education and the safe enjoyment of firearms in the state.
We are a non-profit, volunteer-driven organization headquartered right here in Fullerton, California. We've been around for about 147 years. We're really based on 4 primary pillars, one of which is education, very important to us. Do a lot of educational work with young folks as well as adult classes. The second, of course, is conservation. So if you hunt or fish, the CRPA is there with you, hand in glove. Third and fourth are the ugly part of the business. That's legislation and litigation. So we do have a full-time lobbyist up in Sacramento who fights for your Second Amendment rights. And when our dear Governor, Gruesome Dewsome, signs those bad bills into laws, we have the lawyers to sue him and help restore the Second Amendment to the state of California. We are here in support of the Red Rifle Limited gun store. They are in the process of relocating from Carson down here to Old Town Torrance. They received their permits from City Hall, but some of their neighbors are objecting to a gun store showing up in their neighborhood. Hey, listen, a gun shop in your neighborhood is not a bad thing. And in fact, if you really look at the history and tradition of this country, right, firearms are an integral part of what makes America great. The people who frequent gun stores are not the criminals. We're the good guys. We're the ones who do the background checks. We're the ones who have the clean records. We are friends, we are neighbors, right, and we are not a threat. We are the sheepdog in a world full of wolves. The permit's already been granted. I hope that the Planning Commission reaffirms that permit. I hope that we can reach out to some of the folks who have concerns and put their fears at ease. Make them understand again that we're their neighbors, we're not a threat, right? We're not the problems, right? That we are part of the solution.
As a volunteer and not an employee, I'm here in support of the Red Rifle gun store. I am a parent myself. I have 2 college-age children. And these are truly dangerous times, and police resources are stretched very thin. It is up to each individual to ensure the safety of their family and friends. This is our personal responsibility. Gun ownership is an integral part of the American experience, as enshrined by the U.S. Constitution.
The topic tonight is about compatible use. That's it. Red Rifle is incompatible with the proposed location. Based on the information provided by the appellants, those speaking today, and the information in the public record, it is our belief that the planning director abused her discretion, and we ask that her decision be overturned, or that the Planning Commission moves to continue this item in another meeting, and the appellants have the opportunity to present additional evidence and material. The staff report and its findings are incomplete, and the staff needs more time to properly investigate. We encourage Red Rifle to find a more compatible location in an industrial area where if someone has bad intentions, they can't walk out of a store with live ammunition and a deadly weapon and immediately harm others. Regardless of any safety precautions and measures, there's no way to know what someone will do once they purchase a deadly weapon and ammo. Red Rifle is the only proposed business in the Downtown Torrance area that would sell ammunition. It takes just one person with bad intentions to be a first, or in the downtown's case, a second. Intentions do not matter. Why put weapons and specifically ammo in a busy downtown area instead of an industrial area away from pedestrians and events with hundreds of people? People are scared to come to the downtown Torrance district due to a public-facing gun shop in a busy downtown area. Something so many people have already expressed would result in less foot traffic, which would have a negative economic impact, depreciation in real estate values, and higher rates of vacancies in commercial residential spaces. All of this would create a blight to an area in the active process of being revitalized, and so many other tenant options to choose from that would be compatible. In the report paragraph of the community development staff, the language used to describe the surrounding businesses is vague and has inaccuracies. Additionally, there's inaccurate information, including the blueprint of the proposed location. The hair salon has 2 allocated parking spots. How did Red Rifle get 8? Many of the businesses and residents within 500 feet of the proposed location of Red Rifle mentioned that they were not approached about the proposal and found out via those organizing against the proposed location.
There has to be no emotion. There could be no emotion whatsoever. I'm a mother of 3. I have a big problem with this. I'm not anti-gun. It is plain and simple. It is incompatible to the surrounding and established uses. It goes against the general plan. It goes against the downtown revitalization and connectivity plan. Municipal code has been violated. Municipal Code 91.40.4 states, Section D, if the planning director deems significant public interest, she shall send it straight to the Planning Commission. I would like to know why that wasn't done. And there are several discrepancies on the report that need to be looked at. As you can see, how the procedure has went tonight, this is how the planning department has been handling special development permits for years, and we need to take a look at them because there's skewed information. I would like to ask Michelle Ramirez, why didn't you send it straight to the Planning Commission? Why did you not think there was significant concern? And what are you guys doing when we're doing the commenting period? Kevin Joe, I see that you gave a presentation. You read a redacted version of the report. I expect that we have a safety presentation from our police department, a whole presentation about the background of this from our community development department, and that wasn't done. You just approved this without any background information. What about the CEQA exemption? Where is the environmental impact report supporting that, those findings? Where are any of the reports supporting any of your findings? If you just look at the SDPs in the other areas, you'll see the discrepancies. Please look.
Quote, the greater downtown will celebrate its history. Its streets and public spaces will be well maintained and programmed with events, and it will be a welcoming, safe, and inclusive environment for all, unquote. That study conducted a survey of the public asking what they wanted in a revitalized downtown. One of the 3 top responses was safety. A guns and ammo shop would be a use incompatible with that. Why do people come to downtown Torrance? They come to visit a more innocent, simpler, safer time and place. A guns and ammo shop is incompatible with those joyous feelings. And the very best that old downtown Torrance can be, with its special ability to elicit fond memories of better times. It is inappropriate and no place to normalize street weaponry, which is what he's trying to do. Please do not take old downtown Torrance away from the families and the children.
Commissioner Choi?
No.
Commissioner Kartsonis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pino?
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs?
No.
Commissioner Rudolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Ye?
Yes.
Chairperson Anunson?
Yes.
Mr. Chairperson, the motion carried 5-2.